with it. Okay. All right, so, we're not gonna do community input, right? We're gonna do rec.
Yeah.
Okay, so community input, other than rec? No, okay. Consent calendar, which, we're trying something new, we're gonna have, you saw the email?
I did.
So
Yep.
and you're good with that?
I'm absolutely
All
good
right.
with that.
So we are going to go ahead and accept the consent calendar as proposed,
Yeah,
all right? All right, all those in favor say aye, do I have to do, I would have to.
It's better to vote for
Yeah.
that one, yeah.
All those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Okay, so the consent calendar, do you know what that is, right?
No,
Okay,
I'll
Caroline-
fill it in.
figuring
She'll,
it out.
she'll figure, she'll,
I'll fill you in.
yeah, she'll fill you in. Okay, so we have no department business, okay, so we do have a non-public, which we will go in after the fact, and now we're down to, town administration, which is recreation planning.
Kelly, that's you first.
Wow, that was the fastest meeting ever.
Yes.
All right, well, I'm not exactly positive what happened over the last week, but, I've been told I need to come in and defend, I guess, our program. I don't feel I need to defend our program. I think frankly, our program speaks for itself. We have 100 or more kids from our community and surrounding communities that use our program. We have done a pretty good job with being revenue neutral, but I would like to, I'll backtrack a second. You guys weren't here 4 years ago when this process all started, when I walked through the door, and I was very angry about the previous select board members discontinuing our program. And at the time, Suzanne asked for, I believe, 2 things. You might have to refresh my memory, but one of them was a safe program. I think we have 100% done that. We have made it a very safe program which is highly organized, and we've done a great job with that. The other thing that she asked of us was to be revenue neutral. Now, we haven't done that. We've been close, and I just asked Celia for those numbers. Our last 3 summers have cost the town less than $10,000. So that is essentially less than 1 year of any previous year that this program has been offered. But I would like to go a different route in that, you know, you are all a new select board. Suzanne is no longer here. You have an opportunity to make recreation something that this town values, and values not only financially, but by your backing the community. And, you know, I came in here kind of with an idea in that, you know, let's say we take out teen camp, and I'm okay with that, because teen camp was a lot of work for myself, individually. But I think we have about roughly $13,000 in there, right,
Yep.
Miles? So, you know, so here's my thought, why don't we take that $13,000, remove it from a teen camp, and hire a rec director? Use that money to go down an avenue this town has never done, and frankly, I think it needs it. I personally believe if you discontinue rec in this town, that goes down a slippery slope of school use, and, you know, you got no kids using the school at all in the summers, then you start that ongoing debate within this town a little bit more about why do we have the school here? So now we're only using the school 9 months out of the year instead of 12. You know, our program is beneficial to a lot of people. It's cheap, not cheap, inexpensive. It's organized. We go on field trips twice a week.
Open meeting?
Yes.
And, you know, the school becomes a center of a gathering every single day. Parents come in, they drop off their kids, they chit chat with other parents. They come in later, they pick up their kids, they chit chat. Kids from the school, my kids, Celia's kids, they get together, they interact in the summer. You know, I don't need to tell you how tough it is right now with kids and exercise and obesity problems and cell phone use. This is our way of getting our children in this community off of cell phones, off of media, and interacting with each other. And that, I think, is far more important than really anything else going on right now. You know, I don't know if you guys saw the paper today. So, this is my father, 81 years old, flew to Finland to compete in the World Senior Games and came back actually with a gold medal. He plays basketball 3 times a week at the McConnell Center at 81. He's had 2 hip replacements. Athletics are very important to him. It's clearly come down to my keeping kids physically fit and physically active is a huge part of my life. We try to do that at rec. It's become an issue, I have to tell you. It's harder and harder to get kids motivated to do physical fitness. And I've talked to several other rec programs, Summersworth in particular, I just talked to her a couple days ago, and she said the same thing. It's hard to get kids motivated to actually do things. And we saw that at teen camp this year, and Fridays were a problem, because my vision was, let's get kids working out and sweaty and hot and then go to the pool. Well, then kids stopped showing up for sweaty and hot and just started showing up for the pool. So there's some figuring out that we need to do, but that's beside the point. You know what I think is important is what my dad will tell you about Dover. When he was a child, and he speaks about it all the time, and I know we can't go back there, but everything recreation was free when he was a kid. There were free swimming lessons, there was free parks and rec, there was even a free bus that drove around the town and picked up kids and dropped them off at schools or dropped them off at Bellamy for swim lessons and then brought them back home. I know that's not realistic, but you know, I think we need to make this a part of what you guys all want for our community. And you know, honestly, as far as budget goes, we're not spending a lot of town money. We are using you, you know, but we're not spending a lot of town money. And if we have a rec director, maybe that takes off some of your burden and your time.
Okay. You said your,
I think I said my piece.
okay, well, I wrote mine down, just so I.
How many pages?
I know.
It,
Maybe you should just photocopy it.
I did bring an extra copy.
Go ahead.
Dear members of the select board, I'm here today to discuss why I feel it is important to put off the decision of canceling the summer rec programs and to continue the support of the program both financially as well as with administrative support if warranted. Well, I realize you are balancing a lot and have to make tough decisions regarding the town. I would like to share some of the positive things about this program. I also would like to enlighten you about changes and progress that are being worked on to correct missteps and grow the program. Before I go into why this program is so important to the community now, I want to share with you some of the history. For many people who grew up in this town or have lived here for several years, know this program is a staple of the community. This program has been in the community for over a generation, dating back minimally 20 years. Several communities around us have their own programs as well. Yet, over time, ours has remained the best value, as we have tried to ensure that everyone in the community has a place to go during the summer. Years ago, this program was run by the gym teacher at the school. The day of at camper included physical activities in the morning like basketball, a break after lunch, a break for lunch, after which campers came back in the afternoon to play more team games like softball on the field at the school. Enrichment activities were, like learning to fish, were offered some years by local community members also. On bad weather days, the camp did not take place. Each day, the staff was afforded a lunch break as all the campers left for a mandated time to get their own lunch at home or elsewhere. Many people in this community have fond memories of the camp from different perspectives, including parents and campers. However, times have changed, and as a society, we have become more suspicious of each other, and laws have changed to reflect the times we live in. There are no longer as many parents who are at home during the day that can come and get their children and their friends at lunchtime and return them for another fun-filled afternoon. It is also difficult in these current times for families to have an inconsistent program which shuts down on bad weather days. Yet, these programs do exist in some surrounding communities like Dover with their parks and playgrounds program. Parents these days must work to make a living, often with both parents working to make ends meet. With work schedules that require them to be away from their children in homes during the day, the committee has adjusted our program to cover a 10-hour chunk of the day in when most people work. Tuition covers the hours of 9 to 4, and there are additional hours from 7:30 to 9, as well as 4 to 5:30 p.m. at an additional cost. The program now runs no matter the weather and without a break for lunch. Hence, all of these conveniences are important to offer the local families that benefit the community, as well as address some of the changes in our society. The tuition and cost of extended care is where most of the money made from this program comes from. Besides working to meet the needs of parents, I have also seen this committee work diligently to meet the requests of select boards. Past boards have placed reducing the financial burden on the town and ensuring the safety of the campers onto the committee. During the last 3 years since the group came together, we have created a program in which we covered 90% of the way, or that we've created a program in which we are not over 90% of the way there on the financial aspect. The team program run by the committee has made a profit for the 2 years it's been in existence. Well, that is the goal with the camp for the younger kids. Each year we have fallen a few $1,000s short. This past season in 2019 was the largest gap at roughly $4,000. Looking back over the last 3 years, and especially at the budgets, the committee has stayed within our budget allotted amount for 2 out of the 3 years. The 2019 season was the first year we went over the allotted budget amounts with this group. There are a few reasons why it was difficult to stay within our budget this year, from not getting as many grants to hiring additional staff to accommodate our high enrollment and beyond. No matter how close the deficit was, adjustments were made to try and close the gap. A close examination has also taken place at the end of the season to clearly understand in which areas our deficits can be fixed. The town has supported this program for years with amounts that can be seen allocated in the town reports. Nonetheless, tracking the funds received is difficult at this time, as until 3 years ago, this program held its own accounts and were not audited like it is now. The overall impact of $1,000 to $4,000 per year this program has overextended is probably a very small percentage of the town's total budget. It has been the practice of this committee to keep the town involved and aware of the possible shortfalls in our budget. To compensate for some of the shortfalls, committee members have solicited donations to support the program and offset certain costs. I wonder if a survey was done for the duration of the program, how much would have been invested in the program over the 20 years by whom, and the transparency provided to this and other community officials. Speaking from a business perspective, this is still a young program or business that is coming closer and closer to the goal set by a previous board. If this is looked at from a strictly business standpoint, these programs are in year 2 and 3 of the first 5. Most successful businesses do not turn a profit until year 5. With the deficits in these programs being less than $4,000 per year in the first 3 years, it sounds like the work put into making these programs financially sound has headed them in the right direction. In the short time that this program has been under the Revitalize Committee, many issues have been addressed to ensure the safety and the well-being of campers. But it's still a work in progress, and each year we learn more about where missteps have been taken. And at the end of the season, we have a recap to focus on areas needing improvement and take action. In some instances, we have gotten out ahead of the issues to ensure that the issues are resolved before campers arrive. On the other hand, hindsight is 20/20 and can provide a great reflection on where future resources should be targeted. We, as a town, committee, and camp, are not the only ones facing these similar issues. After our most recent recap for the 2019 survey, another committee member reached out to some surrounding communities to find out they're facing similar issues. In the past, this committee has reached out to other towns and was able to draw upon their experiences, share resources, and learn how to handle situations that have arisen across the board. Now that these connections have been made, reaching out to these other communities is a tool to use when trying to determine the best course of action or practice to improve our programs. Every time there is a hiccup brought to our attention, a remedy is found as quickly as possible. Therefore, the committee has created and utilized policies, procedures, forms, handbooks, and other materials that are already at our fingertips. These documents can be provided to the members of the board or community as requested. If there is something that should be there but is not, I and possibly some of the other members on this committee will try to ensure what is needed gets added. Having access to this information and continuing to work with the connections we have built previously allows us to move forward with a small group of people. The group can continue to troubleshoot problems as they arise, as well as draw on our experience and knowledge of doing this for the last few years to push us towards a better program. Although there was a bigger group in the past to run the program, a lot of the foundation work was done by a core group that is still part of this group today. Therefore, a smaller group has its own benefits, as, like not being as convoluted and can work as a well-oiled machine when it comes to our programs. Looking at towns around us, many of them have smaller groups that run their recreation programs. Usually there's a small group of people that are committed to working on programs, and those individuals will cover each other and utilize volunteers. Many of the communities around us have one person that oversees their members and volunteers, enabling that one person to have the position as rec director or coordinator. Is something previous boards have suggested, and one of the future goals I would like to see come about personally. To me, having a rec director could alleviate many issues. First, if the person worked for a few hours a month, year-round, some of the tasks being placed on the town officials and the rec committee could be taken on by this staff member. Having a paid staff member in this position would reduce the number of times the committee has to come before this board with purchase orders, as the person may be allotted a credit card. In turn, purchases for the rec programs, including summer camps, could be prearranged and coordinated by this person ahead of time. The rec director would also work alongside the other staff here at the town office to ensure everything is in compliance and necessary information is shared. Here is another reason why getting the budget correct and eventually making a profit would benefit all of us. There are numerous benefits for the children when they attend camp. Benefits go beyond the children to the families and the communities they live in. I recognize the benefits of having a safe place for the children in the community to go and have fun. Hopefully, other people in the community do too. Summer camps allow children to connect on many levels, including with nature, each other, and other community members. Camp offers children a chance to unplug from their devices our society is now glued to. Camps provide a chance for children to grow personally and socially, as well as model healthy living habits and team-building experiences. When children attend camp, social skills and self-confidence can improve. Camp can also prevent some academic slides that usually happen over the summer. If you have any doubts about the benefits of the camps, I suggest you Google benefits to camp. With that all said, I ask all of you to think about where you would want your kids or the kids in your neighborhood to be during the summer. Every year, these camps have allowed between 80 and 150 children in this community and the surrounding communities to have a safe, fun, supervised, and somewhat structured place to go in the summer. Now take that away as proposed tonight by cutting the budget. Where and what are those children going to do every day of the summer? Some of them will be at home plugged into their electronics all day long. Some will get together with friends, which could lead to bad decision-making as their brains are still forming rational thoughts. Yet others will be forced to go to other towns where they will not have nearly as many people they know by their sides.
How many more pages, Celia?
This is the last page. Still others will be left without much of an option, as this program was the only one their families could afford. Hence, I ask all of you to step into my shoes, or that of another committee member or a parent in this community. Where would you prefer to have your child in the summer? How are you going to pay for it? Are you going to lean towards a camp close to your home? Where are you and your child? Are you going to go to a camp close to your home where you and your children know others? Or are you going to send them to a place where you and your children know very few people? Now imagine there is no place to go. How do you feel about going to another town? What accommodations are you going to have to make to cover the additional costs that the surrounding towns charge? How do you feel about giving your money to another town when it could be supporting this community where you live? If you cannot afford camp, what are you going to do? How many more children will be running around the town causing mischief with the local authorities and their neighbors having to deal with them? As you consider this decision and whether or not you should continue these programs, I urge you to ask yourself the benefits of these programs and what they are providing to the community, the businesses in the area, families, and children of the town. While you're thinking about this, I respectfully ask that you remember the children of this community do not have a say like the rest of us. They cannot vote and often are at the mercy of those entrusted with their care to think about their needs as well as those that are voting for themselves. Thank you very much.
Okay, anything else?
That's
You
it.
can send it to me.
You don't want the copy?
Well, no, because I'll put it in the minutes.
See if it's by electronically.
All right, anything else?
No,
Any
do
questions?
you do anything?
So, when do you think you'll make a decision about keeping this in the budget or not?
I believe that we probably need to have 3 members' attendance to make that decision at this point.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that all 3 of them, which probably would be the next meeting, I don't know, depending on you, I'm not sure. Is it the 17th?
Yeah.
Is the
Is
next
there
budget workshop?
It's the next budget workshop, so,
Yep.
okay? All right. Thank you. All right, so, sir, are you here to speak to the board, or are you just here to listen?
Oh, I came in, I might speak, I'm not sure yet.
There's community input at the beginning of the
And
meeting.
at the end?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Mark?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Bunch of business to do. Start off. Can't pull up POs. First one we're on is for, there's some stuff in there for you, Caroline, too, when we get to that point. Is for City of Dover, for the servicing of our vehicles. All the inspections are now complete, every truck is passed. There's a list of here, the things that we needed to have done, most of it was just inspection, there was some brakes and some other small maintenance items they had to do, so it's purchase order 1750 for City of Dover for all of our inspections, and some minor repairs they had to do for a total of $339.37.
Alright. I'll move purchase order 1754 to the city of Dover for $339.37 for vehicle inspections and repairs.
I'll second it. All right, any further discussion?
Yep.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Go ahead, Mark.
The next one kind of coincides with that
Okay.
one. You already have the invoice for this one, this is for the tires, Caroline.
Yes.
Engine one, he did have new rear tires, 4 new tires put on. We discussed this before,
Mm-hmm.
and it took them a while to get it in. The truck went up last Friday, got the new tires put on. It's out of Central Tires, Sanford, Maine. The only way it was gonna pass inspection was to replace the tires. So, like everything else, they're never cheap on a large vehicle like that. So, the 4 rear tires have since been done, $2,310.70.
Alright, I'll move purchase order 1759 to Central Tire for $2,310.70 for rear tires for engine one.
All right, I'll second that. Any further discussion?
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Like I said, all the vehicles now, they're all inspected, they all have their stickers on them, all the repairs have been done, so there's still some money left in the vehicle repair line. Should we have anything else pop up in the next couple of months? Hopefully that's not the case, but we still have a little cushion there, even with some of the unforeseen stuff that we ran into so far this year. The next one I have is number 1758. It's for Positive Promotions. It's for the fire prevention education material, which we order for the day that we spend at the grade school, which is Thursday. David's organizing that. He's got some other members. They go up to the grade school and spend the whole day there from the kindergarten up to the 6th grades. They have all kinds of different events they have to do. They do a muster, they do a lot of demonstrations. Of course, they take them out, show them the equipment, just do general overall safety stuff. We also have extra supplies in here that we put to some of the local daycares that come and ask for us, and those of you that have been to the breakfast, you see them sitting on the table, handouts and stuff that we give for pub ed. And again, I said, 1758, the amount is $727.90 for that one.
Okay.
Just gonna leave all that stuff right here and hand this at the end.
I'll move purchase order 1758 to Positive Promotions for $727.90 for public education material.
I'll second it. Any further discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And again, this is Fire Prevention Week, so I'm sure you've seen things that other departments in the area are doing, and it's in the paper and whatnot. So this is the one major thing that we get done, and we just go right to the grade school and just bring it right to the small, get to the kids out of there.
Do you tell them not to light fires in the woods?
We try to do that. We try, because there was never an organized program, and now that David's kids are in school, I mean, way back when my kids were in the grade schools, when we initiated this, because there was nothing that was really organized, and it has grown since then, to the point where they all get stuff that they take home. We completely dress out in gear and packs and let them see what, smells, sees, smells, the whole bit, so they ain't hiding and scared. There's been times when we built a smoke house, smoke trailer, and we put them through that, so. It's been a good program. I think there's an awful lot of value in it, so David's taking it over, and like I said, Thursday, we have a bunch of members there. Yeah, the next one that I have is for the New Hampshire State Firemen Association, it's number 1755. And it's for our annual dues for the 27 members which we have for the fire department. And what happens is we have a roster that goes into the state, and it's updated yearly. And the Firemen's Association takes care of things as benefits and insurances and whatnot, whether it's line of duty death and things like that. You belong to the association, there's an awful lot of benefits that we are required to be a member of it anyway. It's $20 per member, or $24 per member. Yeah, $20 per member, so our 27 brings it up to $540 for our annual dues. And there's that one there for you.
I'll move purchase order 1755 to New Hampshire State Firemen's Association for $540 for membership dues.
I'll second it. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This one, Carolyn, I'm gonna put the packet in here.
I'll mail it out. and
All the
send it
stuff
back
that's
to
in
them.
there and check goes in there, all the updated forms. Because here we have such a transient staff that are coming and going, so every year there's a half dozen of these that I gotta delete, and I gotta add. But we need to keep it up to date, if we ever have an issue. That'll be in there for you also.
Those are your copies.
Okay. We had a discussion a couple of weeks ago on our wanting to add the IM responding software and dispatch and alert system upgrade to our dispatching services. That's still in the works. They ran into some glitches that were unforeseen, as always, I'd always seen that the committee carry that. What happened was, they were supposed to have us up and running about 10 days ago, and they're still waiting for, basically what they need is a software update. We were under the impression that Dover Dispatch, with all their millions that they spent a year and a half ago, everything would be top-notch, highest tech, the whole bit. Well, we found a glitch in their system. And actually, it was probably a good thing for them as well as us. They took their CAD system, CAD is computer-aided dispatch, that they had in the old dispatch center out of City Hall, moved it to the new one in the police station. And when they were updating the rest of their equipment, they put up new towers, they put up new repeaters, everything that we were involved with when we were still trying to switch out a year ago, when we were trying to upgrade our radios. Well, with all this being done, they said, yeah, we can take care of it, we'll put your new alert system in. Well, there's one piece of software that they do not have. So we did not make the two systems compatible. So we've had a week's worth of phone calls and texts and everything else between QED, which is the company that makes the software, and their CAD system manager, and their tech people in Dover to get this all to fit. It can't be done. What's gonna happen is for the software to upgrade it, we're gonna purchase it ourselves through the fire department. It's gonna be installed in their dispatch system. It'll link all the parts and components together, and then our new alert system will be up and running, they tell me this week. So the new software, I got it on purchase order for $1756, number 1756, it's $500 that we need to spend to make our system operable. We're gonna own it, it's gonna be ours. The other thing that I found out the other day, having some conversations with the Dover Fire Department, is they're actually, because of these missing software that they thought they had, they're actually in the process of updating their whole CAD system. So they wrote a set of specs, they put it out into the technology world, and they've got 4 vendors that are gonna come back to do presentations on upgrading their whole CAD system. Because when they thought they were way ahead, they're actually not. They're actually pretty far behind. So they're gonna spend their money to do that. We're gonna jump ahead and have ours up and running. And once they get through there's 4 different companies that are gonna present. And once they decide on who's gonna do it, they're gonna upgrade their whole system. It's gonna take over a year, probably closer to 2. We're gonna get our stuff up and running. They've already guaranteed me that when this happens, they get their whole new system up, we'll be integrated into it, and there'll be no interruption in our needs. Everybody understand that?
Mm-hmm.
There's always something. We went back to like that time we were talking about radios. Remember I came in here and said, we gotta spend $40,000 for all this stuff. You remember that back then, a year or 2 ago? We got that down to very small numbers. So that's where we have to go with that.
They weren't willing to fund the software,
Because basically it services our needs.
only us.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a discussion there. Field captain's name is Brad Gould. He oversees that section to the police department, because the police department controls the dispatch center. So we had a couple of conversations, and basically that's what came out. So,
But it sounds like you're saying this is a one-time purchase.
one
because
time.
Once
I've
they
been
upgrade.
assured by this gentleman, Dave Varney, who was the president of QED, which is another dispatching aid, and they're the ones that are gonna put the software together and integrate it all into their system and make sure we're all up and running. That's all we need, this is all you're gonna have to do, and in order for us to move forward. They're actually already doing it, they're getting the stuff for us so we can get it done. So it's $500 one-time cost. We're gonna take it out of the radio equipment line item that we were we're kinda using. So basically, some of what's happened on that, 'cause we took something else out of that, a couple of weeks ago, to fill in the rest of all our radio needs. They're still playing within that line. Once we get this stuff all up and running and done, then we'll know if we can go get those portables, which is what it was for. So, we'll be on the cusp of that, so. That's where we are with this software stuff. I'm not the huge guru of that. Luckily, we have somebody in the fire department who's outstanding at that.
Mhm.
And he did a lot of these checkings on us and stuff, and he may even go over to Dover when they do the presentations for the update. 'Cause he's written and been involved in this stuff. Just came back from New York City, helped New York City Fire Department with upgrading theirs.
Mhm.
So I talked to Dover, and they invited him over, says, well, we need somebody like that in case it's something we forget. A la this. So Sean's gonna partake in a little bit of that, 'cause he's a guru with that stuff.
Mhm.
I'll move purchase order 1756 to QED Dave Varney for $500 for IM responsive software.
I'll second that. Any further discussion?
No.
No? All those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
One left. It's that time of year, like everybody talked about. Well, I mean, the station looks so good now with the new lot, and all that painted out, and the sign's been cleaned up. Well, I've got a couple of quotes for painting the outside of the fire station. The new section's all vinyl and it's all wrapped, there's nothing to do.
Mhm.
But the outback is all block, cinder block. The ice skating rink side, and then all around the doors. There's stuff that needs to be given attention to. We want to paint the exterior doors, because those are all new, I want to be protected, and the hose tower. So there's not a lot of folks around that are gonna go 40 feet up in the air and hang there and do the hose tower, so. I got a quote, and I wanna move ahead with that. It's number 1757, it's gonna be the Garrison painting for $4,000 to paint the inside of the fire station. Just come out of the fire station maintenance line item. We haven't spent any of that money yet. The rest of it's earmarked for some work that SEMO's gonna do for us on the inside on some electrical upgrades. So we can do this and still have enough money to do that. And this will take care of everything for the fire station as far as doing the cleaning, the prepping, it needs to be washed, paint the hose tower, 2 coats of paint all around the doors on the front of the station. There's a small piece of trim and it's starting to weather and crack and fall apart. The sweeps and whatnot are starting to fail, so that's just gonna cost us more heat. So we're gonna clean all that stuff up. Like I said, paint exterior doors, hose tower, and the whole, basically it's the old station except for the brick part that we're gonna do. And I think since I've been there, it's never been done.
I don't remember.
I figured maybe you might have a better answer. I know the other stuff that
I
they've
know,
done
well,
on
I
the
just
inside
know,
was
yeah.
done by the convict crew.
Yes, inside.
And there's no way that these guys are gonna be able to do anything
Yeah.
like that, so.
Yeah.
I wanna use these people here and get, and have their quote, and compare it with some of the others, and this is the one that I think is gonna fulfill our needs. Questions? It needs it, just look at the firehouse and you'll see. I was up on the roof the other day doing some of the prep work, and basically the paint on the upper end of the hose tower is non-existent anymore, to the point that some of the block is actually starting to deteriorate. You get that green lichen stuff that wants to grow on it, so that penetrates into the mortar and starts eating that up, and it's just gonna lead to failure. So we cleaned a lot of that stuff up, and then we're gonna paint it, seal it, and protect it.
All right, I'll move purchase order 1757 for $4,000 to Garrison Painting for fire station exterior paint.
Okay, I'll second it. Any further discussion?
So there is an amount of $13.96 that has been tagged to the fire station.
It might be the overhead door contract.
Oh,
Probably exactly what it is.
okay, but you still have plenty of money there.
Yeah, it's 75.
Yep.
So we use that, and I still have the money that I want to have the electrical upgrade done.
Yep.
So it's still good.
What is the, you might as well vote on that. I have an unrelated question.
Okay, so, no other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
What are the electrical upgrades?
We need to have dedicated outlet for when we purchase our air filling station. So that needs to be added.
Is that a 220? Or is that,
No, it's not a 220.
it's just dedicated, okay.
It's a single phase of a dedicated circuit that has to be added. And that's gonna be in a new section, because we're cleaning the space up for it, but it does not have the proper connection right now, so that has to be taken care of. And the other thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add a 220 in the utility and the maintenance room, because we don't have a 220 in the station. So, other than, so we don't have a stove per se, except for the grills, which are gas fired. So we need the 220 for down the road. Actually, we had the guys in there doing the floors, when we refinished the floors in the training room and whatnot a year or two ago. They couldn't run their equipment because we didn't have the proper electrical service for them. So when I had a 220 in the maintenance room next to where the extractor is, because down the road we want to get a dryer to help, right now we wash our gear and it does a great job with the extractor, and we just hang it all over the place in the fire station, which is not the most efficient way to put it back into service. So we're gonna need a dryer here down the road.
How we got one?
Just a
We never
washer.
got one? It was just the washer?
Just the extractor.
Talk to me before you buy that someday, I understand that's down the road, 'cause you don't
Before I buy
understand.
the extractor.
The dryer, any major electrical appliance is
Yeah.
likely eligible for the Eversource rebate program.
Yeah, we've
So-
discussed that before, yeah.
So I just wanna make sure that we're taking advantage of that,
Well, we're on the cusp of maybe getting some grant money for it, so that's the other thing.
so maybe we can have a double win.
Yeah. So, speaking of that, Eversource stuff, we gave all that information like it was gonna happen.
And it was gonna happen, and still stuff is on order, and we're told within the next week or two, there will be a storage
Right.
unit
No,
at the highway department, so it's still happening.
okay.
I'm not sure why there's a delay, but there's a delay.
Just make sure there wasn't some other glitches.
No, it should all be
I
fine.
know this was, we were talking about this a month ago to start that upgrade, so.
Well, we did it one now.
Yeah, it's been a long
It's
time
been a long
coming, I'm
time.
not sure why it's been as slow as it has,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, it's okay, we're ready whenever they say.
Mhm.
Because I know we're supposed to go first, and whenever that
First on the
happens,
list.
Yeah, and
we
then
wanna make sure
highway.
we get bodies around so we can take care of their needs, so we can get it done.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else?
That is all that I have tonight. I've caught up, again, that's that 2 week thing.
Don't go there, we've been meeting every week.
And is that for me? Can you give me
That
that?
is for her.
All right, thank you.
Yes, that.
Fabulous, thank you.
So we'll not be meeting next Monday because it's a holiday.
It's a holiday, it's correct, it's Columbus Day.
Yes.
Well, you would anyway, right? Wouldn't that be your week
Nope,
off?
we're not doing it. We're regular meetings now.
You're back to regular meetings?
Well, because we're doing budget and the other one. But if there was emergency, you know that you can come
I
in.
do know that, yes, and I try to,
You can
avoid,
always run it by Caroline and she can do
I try
it.
to avoid the emergency thing when
Yeah.
it comes to that, and handle it in a specific way, so.
Alrighty,
Questions,
I don't think so.
No?
No.
Thank you.
All right,
All right, have a good night.
thank you.
Bye.
Also.
All right, so we're gonna go to, the cruiser lease, okay?
And the top contract.
Well, she didn't have it tagged.
No, we're gonna table that.
So we get to budgeting.
Okay, there are a number of pages to this, and it's very specific how it's to be signed. Okay, so this is all the legalese of the contract itself. So Denise is gonna sign on behalf of the board. There are a number of places to do that, and I would just have you, most of them are signature and then printed name and title, so if you could sign
Signature and
over,
then
sign
print
over
name.
here and then print and
Yeah.
title.
Okay,
And I'm just gonna give it to you one piece at a time.
and you
take
reviewed
it-
this all,
Yeah, and,
that did sound amazing.
I reviewed it over the phone with him, and it's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
this is Exhibit A, which is a description of the equipment, which is the vehicle there, the year is blank. We're leaving the location blank because it's not any different than our mailing address. So for you to sign again at the bottom. And
It's a 2020 though, right?
um,
Why wouldn't you?
because they don't ever do that until it's delivered, just
So it's
because they've
actually
had,
delivered.
yeah,
Okay, all right.
problems with not being exactly the same thing. I'll take your pink thing.
Today's date,
October 7th.
I know, that's what you
Yes,
wanted today.
please, yes. The other side, same thing, this is your schedule of payments.
Okay, and those all tie up,
Tie up.
together, all right.
Okay, and then there's a page here, Exhibit C, which we're not going to have you sign yet. We're gonna do that when we take delivery of the vehicle.
Okay,
That whole Exhibit C, we're gonna wait. The opinion of council was waived in lieu of certified minutes. So we're gonna submit, once the minutes are approved, we'll have them notarized and sent on, and it'll have the same effect.
of what, the authorization that we're doing this?
Of the legal opinion of the veracity of, yes, you voted for this, and yes, you're
Okay.
approving of this.
So the March minutes, I mean, the March.
No, tonight's minutes. Tonight's minutes of
So we need to
you-
make a motion to do and accept it. because
Well,
we-
you did that last week, but yes,
Okay.
actually, it would probably
Okay.
be prudent to do that. Okay, so this is the lessee resolution. There's, so we are going to authorize, this is a little backwards that we're only just now doing this in Exhibit E, but we're gonna print your name and title
Mhm.
here, which
Mhm.
means that you are the authorized signer.
Mhm.
Secondary to that, we're gonna put Jessica, because she's not here, because at the bottom, the person who's attesting to this is Miles, because he's the other board member there, and he can't attest to himself.
And be
So
that, yep,
we're gonna write, if you would write your name and title in the top line.
printed,
Printed,
this one.
yes.
Is it select board chair? It would be select board, all right, I can put select board on the
That's
other.
okay, I can. It's okay, it's okay.
All right,
Yeah, and then her name is there, Jessica,
Jessicah,
I-C-A,
and her last name,
W-E-L-C-H.
okay,
And then comma select board for her too.
yeah,
Okay, and then
Miles can do this.
you're done,
Okay.
and Miles, if you could, right next to by, you're signing, and then next to by, you're signing, and by the name, you print and title, print your name and title.
So when that comes in, do I have to be here to sign that document at
Um,
that time, or do I have, or is it gonna come to the board after it's been delivered?
I think it would be prudent to, in the motion of all this, that we authorize, that you all authorize you to come in and sign it, so it doesn't have to be within that
Okay.
meeting. And then I'm witnessing this, I'm attesting
Mm-hmm.
to this with my signature. Name and title. Okay. And then,
What were you all attesting to?
to who,
And I signed it.
that Denise is the authorized signer of these loan, of the loan agreement and of these subsequent annual bills as they come in. Bank qualified certificate that we are tax exempt and it's covered by insurance.
Okay, so this is me.
So that is here again.
Here, right?
Signing, yeah, and then printed name and title. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is our insurance company information, which I need to fill out, but just Primex's name and phone number is all that's needed there, if you would.
I'm gonna sign here and you're gonna fill this in?
Yes.
Don't forget.
Oh, no. He'll be calling me first thing in the morning. Okay, thank you. Exhibit H, this is the lessee certificate. I will fill this out. It's essentially, it's asking for what is the purpose of the vehicle, how will it be used? So it's a police cruiser, and where is the funding coming from, and how do you know that there's funds in that account? And we went, he and I went over how to fill that out,
Okay.
and it's your name and printed name and title at the bottom. It's like a mortgage.
And you're gonna have all copies of these on file, right?
I will keep it scanned for you, yes. And here you are attesting to that you have, this is where payments go, and that you are noticing where payments go. So
Okay.
if you would sign there, print name, title, and date. Thank you.
Is this something that has to be done in a board meeting? Could I have come in and did this?
It's probably better at a board meeting,
Okay.
although essentially a motion could have directed you to do this. Filling out where billing is going to. The escrow letter, because the cruiser is delayed and not coming until sometime in November now, they're
Oh.
setting up an escrow. So this authorizes them to put the funds in escrow until we take delivery of the vehicle.
Okay. Something going wrong on it? or-
No, I think that's just for delaying shipment. Let's hope it's not a Freightliner plow truck.
It's not.
And then this is attesting to our non-taxable status and the amount of the loan in a non-taxable status, $32,910, if you would.
This is equipment and the cruiser, right? Or is this just the cruiser?
That is the cruiser only.
Cruiser only, okay.
So signature and date and print name and title. And that's the end of that.
That's right, we're taking the equipment from, we were
Capital.
able to do that from CIP.
Yes. October 7th.
No, I was wondering where I was putting my title.
It's
Or
the
to
right
print
of there
there.
further, yeah. Okay, and
That's
that is the end of that,
All right.
thank you. If you would though, now,
No.
after the fact, please make the motion to approve Denise to be the signatory for all the cruiser leasing documents.
I move we appoint Denise the signature on the cruiser lease.
All right, I'll second that, I guess. All right, all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye, all right. Very good, all right.
On a little backwards.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Sometimes,
Okay, so then we're going down to GN one, policy review procedure. I submitted a procedure to Caroline, I'm not sure, did she share it with you guys on the policy review
Yeah.
that I'm recommending? I'm looking to have, the select board, to accomplish the goal, the town administrator will keep a priority list of the policies that need adoption or changes, and policies will be sent one at a time to the board for review. Week one, policy will be given to the select board with highlighted comments received by the town administrator on the recommendations needed. Week two, the select board will give feedback on what they believe can be changed to the policy based on their experience and recommendations from the town administrator. In week three, we're looking for the board will approve the policy and a new policy will be submitted for the next review. That's what I'm proposing, that we go
Yeah,
and one at a time, you know, and not have a big pile of it.
yeah.
And hopefully this will be something we can,
I think it's a great idea.
can go forward with, yeah. All right, so do you wanna make a motion to accept?
Sure, I'll make a motion, we accept the policy review procedure as presented.
Okay, and I'll second it. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Okay. Do you have to sign a copy of that?
Yes,
Okay. And you're gonna have to get Jessica to sign it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
thank you.
All right, so that's all we have to do on the must-do for the agenda, right? Except for the non-public.
There is another purchase order in here from the highway department, there's a little bit of miscellany here. The police chief alerted this to you, last week, he's got an officer,
Oh, yeah.
who was due for a pay increase that was already approved and
Yep.
now it's coming due.
Yep.
So if you would,
Do we need to make a motion, because we already approved it? We
I don't
just
think you need
sign
to,
it.
yeah, I think
we
you just need to sign it because you
all right.
approved it. Likewise, this is the paper appointing Jessica to SRPC,
Okay.
which you don't need to vote on because you already have, but if you could each sign the
Here,
bottom of that.
okay.
Thank you. This is from Health Trust. It lists me as the benefits administrator, which is the primary contact and the person who administers the benefits to our employees.
Mhm.
So they just want a signature that you want me to still be that contact person.
Should we make a motion?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we maintain Caroline Kendall as the primary BA for the Health Trust.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. This is the letter for George and Highway Truck that's been discussed.
Yeah, no. Okay, all right. I'll sign that, and then George is gonna sign, that'll be in the file.
Yes,
Okay.
and then that's the last item. That Miles has. Thank you.
So I'll move purchase order 1747 to Bobcat of New Hampshire for $2,827.96 for 4 solid tires with a skid steer.
Okay, and that was that machine that was down in there. Okay, I'll second it. Any discussion?
No,
All right,
clearly needs it.
yeah. So all those in favor say aye? we won't do it tonight, but can you put George's computer back on the agenda for next week? And, I think we can go ahead and go with that probably.
Yeah.
Is he gonna get that through Tom? Do you know?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay. All right, so, C2 budget versus nothing else on here, right?
Welfare
When
non-public,
we
you
go,
wanna do it now? Whatever you want, you can do it now, or you can do it at the end of the meeting after budget stuff.
how much time do we have with you?
Like an hour,
Okay.
do you wanna?
You wanna take care of it now, so then you, yeah, okay, that's all right. So we need a motion to go into, oops, here, non-public RSA 91-A:32C for welfare.
So moved.
All right, roll call. Miles?
Yes.
Denise, yes. We are now going into non-public. We should
Are
have
you
the
going to
cameras.
be adjourning after your non-public?
We are
No.
going to go into just dealing with budget.
Budget workshop.
Budget workshop, no more decisions, but budget discussion.
Tonight.
We have 2 hours.
I ain't being here for 2 hours.
All right, let's hope not.
All right, so, you wanna make a motion, Miles, and then I'll second it?
To,
No, for
Welfare.
the welfare.
Oh,
Two different, you have to make two, right, or you can make
It can
one?
be one.
One, but listening, the numbers
Yeah.
separately.
alright, so I move, we allocate $425 for welfare case 2019-009
Mm-hmm.
and $310 for welfare case 2019-016.
Okay, and I'll second it.
016.
Correct.
Yes, it's on the agenda.
Alrighty, any further discussion on that?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Alright, so we are going to go into our budget workshop at 8:16 or 17, looks like. Alright, you will have to kind of like tell us where Jessica fell in some of the areas that I couldn't print it, and we talked about that, so you know of certain
did.
areas.
She did send a follow-up email, did you see the
I
follow-up?
probably didn't,
Okay,
if
I
it
will
was
read
later
it
in
to
the
you.
day.
I'll read it to you. She copied the whole board. Caroline was able to address my questions and comments, which were mostly along the lines of, why was this high last year? Why was this almost expended this year? But I actually don't take issue with any of the lines and trust the department heads are evaluating their needs well. I think that the interest in preserving summer day camp indicates that it's something valuable to the people in the town, but logistically, it doesn't seem realistic to have it up and running with funds responsibly spent this year, 2020. I personally would like the teen camp line set at 0 and a lesser amount that is currently budgeted to be allocated for a new director to be spent in the latter half of 2020 in order for the new director to write the summer day camp program for 2021. My sister is the director of a teen center in a small town in Vermont, and she made the point to me that it is much more expensive to get something up and running than it is to continue running something that already exists, however flawed. It does feel as though we will be starting from scratch even if we continued to fund the program at the level it was this year for 2020, especially if the cost/revenue neutral goal is now no longer supported by the other employees. I acknowledge that I am coming into this with very little institutional know-how or even budgetary know-how, but this program clearly is not sustainable as it stands if there is no one in the director's chair. If taking a year off and prepping for 2021 isn't an option, then I think I would be more in favor of not funding it at all than continuing to fund it. As far as Title II of the ADA goes, a behavior policy is discriminatory unless it meets very stringent requirements. For example, a swimming test in order to determine eligibility for scuba program may have the result of not allowing many people with mobility disabilities participate in the scuba program, but that doesn't mean it's discriminatory. A behavior policy that states that children must be able to sit still for an amount of time or prohibit them from yelling would likely be discriminatory. New Hampshire allows exemption from licensing a program as a child care operation if it is considered quote-unquote recreational, and she provides a link. But a link that explains whether a program would be determined recreational or not is a dead link. Regardless, there are loads of requirements for licensing a childcare program, and likely the safest bet is to follow those whenever there is a question of what to do and what is the minimum amount of service that the town has to provide, even if we are not beholden to them given that we are exempt. For example, how educated volunteers have to be. This would all have to be considered. Wish I could come to the meeting tonight because I want to hear from the summer people, and I'm sorry that I have a scheduling conflict. Anyway, those are my thoughts, looking forward to reading the minutes from tonight. And that's all she has to say about budget items. In other words, really, it mostly is question and answers that she and I worked out over the phone, so.
I know that they're very passionate, clearly, I get that, but I do think that unless you get some people who are gonna be extremely dedicated to join the committee, it won't happen this year. And I know we got 6 new people coming in, or called for information.
We have a 7th who's inquired, and I now have 1 who's ready to sign up.
So I think probably they've done some phone calling, and it's been in social media as well, looking for that, but, do you want to, maybe skip rec at this point? And
Yeah.
so I would really like, in case it's a tie, I don't want it to, I don't know how I feel yet. So I'd really like to wait for that for Jess to be here.
Yep.
Okay, all right. So if we're on the front page, pretty much the first whole, top, all right, I'll start from the top. On administrative support personnel, Miles, it looked like you were looking for an adjustment on the hours.
Yeah, so I took the approach of just looking for places that had bumped up significantly and seeing where, so with the idea of keeping it at a 2% increase, adjusted the hourly rate for Chuck, and like I said, all of this, I'm open to discussion, but these numbers made sense to me. So total adjustment of the admin support line of $1,550.
Okay. What I had come in, I was recommending for Chuck would be 2.5 hours a week at $125, so I split it in half.
Okay.
Hourly wage versus amount of time that was being requested, in hopes that maybe the next year we would be able to get the other half back in there. So we're giving him 2.5 hours a week and $1.25 increase for his salary, which
Okay.
is more than the percentage that we're looking at. It's more than the 2%. But I think there's a lot of things that are gonna happen in this office, so I do think he needs to have more hours. But I don't know about, if that, what are your feelings about that, Caroline?
Whatever time of his we can get would be put to great use. And I'm just, I think as much as rec is not the conversation, so rec, water department, and we haven't really been talking about space needs, but I'm hoping within the next month and going into creating a warrant, I don't know how the board feels about that being part of the warrant, but if rec were to happen, I just wanna say it out loud, that if rec were to happen, we're gonna need more office time. A combination of Chuck, but mostly of my time, to make sure that if there's a rec director, that person is directed and knows what the need is and how to make sure that the program is what we need it to be. So,
And I agree with you. However, I also need, that money needs to be raised by the tuition that the kids are to cover the cost that's coming out of your office. Because it was more than what we were expecting last year in your office. And you
yes.
need to get the revenue source to help cover the increase of cost of what that office is gonna bring to the table. And so it needs to be part of the program.
So that's gonna increase that's gonna be another whole I think there's something to be said for taking as much as that's a hardship for the families potentially, something to be said about, for taking a year off to ask these questions and have these discussions, because while you're right on the one hand, it's also going to raise the tuition to what level, and then is the program still affordable, or are we back at the drawing board, like.
But there's other things that I've been working on the rec to try to see if it can even be saved. And that is very few field trips, in-house, like it was when my kids were at
That's
the age.
what my thought too, can we just simplify that?
Simplify it, get rid of teen,
That would help a lot.
get rid of
Yeah.
pre and post care. We're not a daycare center, so they come for whatever the
I didn't realize
time
that
was.
was provided as part of rec.
Oh yeah, it's pre and post care as part of rec, and there's an additional cost to that. But I said, let's get rid of that, have it be a 9 to 2 or 9 to 3 program, and have in-house programs brought in, and that saves you a ton of money on busing, and get back to the basics.
So one of
I
the
mean,
things.
that's bottom line.
One of the things we don't know about that is if you reduce the hours of the program, particularly pre and post care, are you reducing some of your market base? Are you gonna lose so many kids because so many families can't then access it?
True, and I'm not as much about the pre and post care because that's revenue, it covers the cost of the people that have to be there. So I'm not as much saying do that, I'm just looking for ways of where we can curve it in. But it's more about keeping it basic and do programs in the location instead of hopping on a bus all the time and going out and doing something that costs money. And so your program can come down almost by not having to do all the admissions to Canopy Lake and all the state parks and,
The
you know.
administrative support.
Well, that's a lot of the so.
Not all of it.
So during the summer and right before the summer, there's a lot of work in setting up these vendors and making sure we've got tickets to the right program and we know how to pay for it and all of those things. But in the meantime, from a starting now perspective, we've got to write the program, and that's a different kind of administrative lift on my office now. So they're different. So with regard to the administrative support line, I was wondering if I could just briefly speak to my budget proposal, because I think it's relevant. You're asking me about how many hours for Chuck, and I don't know if you all have read this, and we've talked about bits and pieces of it, but there are a couple of points I just want to make. You did the assessment cards, thank you, and that's gonna help a lot. They're not online yet, we're having trouble getting the data to Avatar, but it should be within the next week or so. That will take a lot of traffic out of the office, but still the filing of papers and finding of information is still and always going to be intense. And so I provided two links to the RICO proposal. One is the presentation to the cost savings of managing digital files as opposed to paper files, because it costs more money to manage paper than it does to stay digital. It's just the getting up and running cost. So I would really like for the board to consider maybe in late November or early December hosting RICO to come do a PowerPoint presentation to the board and to the public to learn about the value. Because while it does cost a lot of money, and I've broken that down into different town functions, it will ultimately save us money. And so we can either spend money for admin support or increasing admin support and to try to get our space under control, or we can spend it on digitization, which is going to give us information at our fingertips, which will be a better service for ourselves and our departments and also our residents. But also, we have an enormous space problem, and it addresses that as well. So it speaks to that line, which is why I wanted to break it up. The other thing that we don't really talk about a lot are the things that I think I should be thinking about, that there's not a lot of time to think about with the limitations of a 40-hour work week, which could benefit from more additional hours for Chuck. And strategic governance is one of those things. We had talked about it briefly last December. There's a company that does it. I would still like for the board to host them as well and hear the presentation. It's another considerable expense, and it's less about funding this company and more about understanding the principles of how they budget differently and how they use data to substantiate their budget requests and how that helps budgets pass. But it also helps departments and then the board prioritize the needs of the town. And so part of strategic governance is the CIP program, the road surface management plan, all of these budgeting planning tools. The master plan is out of date. We're required to have it. So that needs to go, I would suggest that go out for an RFP next year. We can partner with Stratford Regional Planning to help us rewrite it, but it's an interactive process with the public to engage with them about what kind of a town is Rollinsford, what do we want it to be, what do we appreciate about it that we want to maintain, what do we really wish about it that we'd like to change. And that document is really supposed to be almost like a charter, and it's not a charter, but it's sort of a way in which we move forward, and the planning board would adhere to that when it makes decisions, and the zoning board would consider that when it considers whether or not to make a variance and things like that. So I just wanted to mention those things, that there are some broader level functions. We're 9 months into this new title, and I think things are going really well, but there are more functions that we could continue to take off the board's plate so that you too could also be focusing more on policies and ordinances and strategic planning and like that. But I need the time to do that too, and Chuck's the way to get me there.
So where is that in here?
So that is, so you have at home the full spreadsheet. In the, that line, the administrative support personnel line, if you, is for me and Chuck and Salme combined.
Right.
If you, when you go home and you look at this spreadsheet, if you click at the bottom of the data tab,
I have it here somewhere.
there's a calculator, and you can play with hourly rates and number of hours to get different results for that number.
Denise, were you asking about the digitization?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
asking
that's
about the
not-
two things that you
sorry.
talked about. Is it in here at all?
No.
No, because those are further out plans, so I'm,
Okay.
you know, in this, I tried to give you a broad overview
Okay.
with where are we and where do we need to go?
Yeah.
And no, that's not in year one. It's gonna be something that I'm talking more about next year,
For
which
next
is
year,
why I
yeah.
wanna hear them now, because I, you know, you will be done with the board portion of the budget, and even before we get this budget approved, I want to get you thinking about where we're going and how it's going to be helpful. And that's why I don't really want to wait on strategic governance, which I think the budget committee could benefit from as well. That really everybody needs to know what we're up against and what we could benefit from and how we could be thinking differently about these things. So no, the last page of my budget proposal is broken down into year one and year two and year three, so.
Okay, so that was my recommendation.
Okay.
I know that you were a little higher probably
A little higher.
on Chuck, which I'm okay with, or whatever. I just have to, and it's like, okay, this year and then next year I would recommend going,
So what sort of adjustment does that represent?
I think it's a 1550.
Oh, that's the number I came up with.
Why do I have it? I have it inked there.
If, it might be the same, I don't know.
Okay, so what is 2.5 times 52 times 1.25, right?
I'm sorry, can you say that
Two
again?
2.5 hours times 52 weeks times 1.25 increase.
162, that doesn't make
No.
sense.
Oh.
Oh, but times his regular salary, time multiplying.
Well, that was just the increase.
All right, so my calculator is like an
Yeah.
hourly wage of 1.25 an hour, times the number of hours, bringing him up to 22.25, 22.5.
Well, I see a 34.42.50 increase for Chuck. That's what I see.
So if you divide that by 2, right?
No, the
So-
2.5 plus 1.25 increase is Chuck's increase for the year is 35.42. So 2.5 times 52, and then you times
I've got
that
it.
by
I've got it.
is 162.
It's 35.43 for the year, 3,543.
Yeah, I have 3,542.50, so
Yeah, that's what I
rounded up.
rounded,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, so that's what his increase would be with an additional 2.5 hours a week and 1.25 added to his salary,
It's an
to make
extra.
him 17.25 an hour, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So the total for the year would be 35.42.50
Of an increase.
of an increase.
So that changes the whole admin support line, if there are no other changes, which you can still talk about, to 89,515,
Okay.
rounded up one.
So it was going to be like an $8,000 or $7,000 increase, and now it's a $3,500, is that?
Pretty much, because I just
Okay.
divided it in half, so
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, it was gonna be close to 7,000.
That still doesn't make complete sense to me, but it's $1.25.
Yeah, it was 7,084. See, they're lump summed, so it's hard to back into it, but if you were gonna,
1850, times 25, times 52, is $24,050. So,
You currently have 16
you make
Yes.
60 now.
times 20 hours,
yes.
2, yep, okay. Um,
So it's $3,867 more, which doesn't make sense to me that it's not that much more than,
Okay, yeah, 3705.
3705,
what is 3705? I don't,
Chuck's?
as an increase?
Yep,
If I went 2.5 times 1.25 times 52 weeks,
what's that number?
162.50. No, that's not
Doesn't
right.
make- I know,
All
that's the
right.
number we keep coming up with.
2.5 hours.
All right.
Oh, no, I have to do with the 1.25 to the whole salary, that's
The
what it
whole
is,
salary,
that's
not
what I'm
just-
just doing,
Right,
yes, yes,
right,
yes,
right.
yes, yes, yes.
So 22 and a half hours.
Yeah,
Times
so,
1.25.
yeah,
So 354250 is the increase, the
I was
proposed
smarter
increase
this
of the new.
afternoon than I was right now.
Of this
That's the
proposal.
number I have, right, that's his total increase for the year, based on 2.5 hours additional a week and $1.25 an hour,
Is how much?
35.42.50.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, I'm supporting Caroline's $5,000 request.
That's fine.
I just think that she started lower
She
than,
did.
so that's where I'm okay, and then Sal May's.
So that line's down to a 9.6% increase, it's a total increase on that line of $7,875, $78.75 on that line.
Okay. And so then, the adjustments of all the taxes and stuff, that'll affect the bottom.
Right, so payroll taxes is now at $8,008.
Okay. So, my question on mileage, does that include going to the bank now for next door?
I'm not really sure what to budget for that. We've never really, we've never, I mean, because that's a new expense, and we've only ever really half expended that line. So likely, I think it's gonna be more than that, but not considerably more than that, because it's only one way to the bank,
Did you get that confirmed with them?
yes.
Okay, and what were we charged when she submitted it just recently?
It was both ways.
Both ways, so is that gonna be modified?
So that will be, well, no, it was going forward, remember, like, you know.
Okay, so now it's one
Going
way, so
forward,
then it's
it's
half
one
of
way.
that, okay, all
So I
right.
don't think it's, you know,
I just wanna make sure, because we've never paid miles to the bank before, and now we're going to be.
Does
Clearly.
that end up in this line item?
that will be in that line,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then, the new phone for welfare, that's a track phone, right? That's what we
Yes.
talked about, okay. And then professional services, I'm just putting
Okay.
it out there that,
I need to discuss something with the board which may influence this line. There's a long-standing zoning violation in town that you're all aware
Yeah.
of that hasn't really been addressed. It was addressed and then it was dropped because the legal line was depleted. So now it's at the point where that property owner submitted a building permit to expand his driveway. And the building permit was denied because of his nonconformities. And then instead, he repaved his existing driveway, which still requires a building permit. He didn't submit a building permit, we're gonna give them the benefit of the doubt that he didn't know he needed one just to repair his existing driveway, because he didn't do what he was originally intending to do. Nonetheless, he needs a building permit, I can send him a letter telling him to get a building permit, but again, it's likely to be denied because there's nonconformities.
It's already done.
It's
it's already done. So we just want the money that,
Well,
should have paid
but then you're
upfront.
condoning something and then, you know, I'm not sure that
oh,
that,
he should be fined too.
well, fined or, you know, you can tear up the driveway or, you know, but you can't tear, but you can't really because you have to leave him with whatever was there before, which was a crumbled paved driveway and that, you know. So, I'm just raising that to your attention that you don't have to decide what to do about that right now, but, that's still an outstanding issue. And at the next meeting, I likely will have Tom Clark and I are still trying to figure out what is the best course of action with that.
Okay.
But, to my mind, the best course is legal action, but that's
Okay.
money, so.
I just wanna make sure, you know, cause we've talked about several locations in town that are constant problems. And if we have to go to the legal, I wanna make sure that we have enough money.
Well, and, you know, there's nothing Tom can do if ultimately the town isn't willing to go to legal over it. You know, any
Right,
one of
right.
these things can go to legal.
Yeah, so I don't know what is enough, that's either,
Exactly, we can't even get an estimate, right?
because you don't know what you're gonna have to do. It all
No.
depends how much time a lawyer has to be in court or do the paperwork to, or the investigations or whatever, right? I mean,
There's no like ballpark figure, this is what it takes, right?
It's, you never really know, because you don't know how hard they're gonna fight and whether or not they're gonna show up to court even.
So I was just concerned about that because we've talked, well, like last year, we've talked about certain areas and it didn't show any increase, so I didn't know what the intent was.
Well, so,
And we still have the one on Summersworth Road,
right,
too.
and so, this is something, I mean, the board in the past had attempted to sort of calculate some things, ballparks, even though, as Miles said, you never really know, but, sending things, policies through through legal review, that's something that was budgeted before, like welfare. Welfare at some point should go to legal for review. I don't think it's a priority for next week because it's been through legal in other communities, but still, we would wanna make sure that it fits Rollinsford well before we think it's completely finalized. Those compliance issues for zoning, like you mentioned. And then general items, for right-to-know requests or who knows what might come up. And then also under professional services, engineering for Sligo Road. It seems as though we have that under control now, but,
That was
Other-
part of that line?
professional services is now legal and engineering and all outside, like that
Because
kind
it's
of,
professional, it's not just legal services.
it's together, yes.
Okay.
So, that line is now just level from the year before, but
Mhm.
without these, we're not using the calculator anymore, so,
I mean,
you haven't
I think
spent
we-
very much of the
we haven't
money,
spent very much of it.
which to my mind means if you keep it level, you can probably start that case even this year,
Right.
Mhm.
and then you'll have that whole line for the next year, and you'll probably be okay.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we were looking at it, and knowing that we had talked about
You
it
never
before.
really, there's no guarantee about that.
Right.
Right,
All right.
right.
And my last thing for executive was, I don't believe we're gonna have any bonds this year. What do you think we're gonna have for bonds?
I'm not thinking we are, but I'm not thinking we're not yet either, and that's,
There's no way.
I think it's unlikely at this point, since we're
I think
running
that's
behind
over.
schedule. Yeah, I know, but I wanted to let you all decide that and drive that train.
Are we talking about this building or a new building? Is that what you're
Like a
talking about?
police station, if there's,
Yeah.
I don't think we're there. I don't think we're
No.
gonna be there. And if we do, then we start
The
next
committee's
year.
never even met.
No,
this
not
year.
yet. No.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave $1 in that
You
line.
leave a
then.
dollar in it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, awesome.
okay.
Plus $1,000.
So, knowing that, what is our new total for executive office?
$216,830 for a proposed change of $15,815, which is 7.9%.
Okay, and that includes Chuck's reduction and the no bond.
Correct.
That was really
Those are the
the
only
only
two
thing. And
changes.
how about you, Miles? That was all, the only
Yep,
thing you were
That
talking about,
sounds-
right?
That
Okay.
sounds great.
Okay, so are we good with that, Miles?
Yep.
Going forward with that number? Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Next, election and registration. My opinion, there is no 3 additional hours for the town clerk.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go with the $300 election stipend. By giving the $300 election stipend, it's $30 an hour. I'm basing it on 10-hour days, because she gets her first 4 hours is covered by her town clerk's salary.
Right.
So I don't think that's too shabby. I think the 500 was way out of.
Yeah.
Are you proposing a 2% increase for her regular
I
salary?
am. And no additional hours. I think we need to have a year's worth of history to see what she's working over, you know?
And Tuesdays are, so.
Yeah, and I think having Andrea now with her own computer being DMV, she won't have to come in on a Saturday to do C and J. Cause she should be able to do that while Andrea's doing this, right? I mean, I
And
would-
Tuesday nights should help too.
And Tuesday night should help as well, so I don't think that there's really a requirement for her to have extra
Yeah.
hours. That's,
And I think we need more evidence, more timesheets.
well, we need a year's worth,
Yeah.
for sure, and increasing it by 3 additional hours doesn't guarantee us that she won't take Fridays off
Yeah,
for 4 months. So,
agreed.
so that was my, let me see, all the other ones I marked as okay. It's just a technical thing, but town clerk should be doing her own minutes, not having to farm them out to another person to come in and do the deliberative session minutes. It should be, it's part of her job description, but that's just my feeling. So everything else on that looked okay to me. How about you, Miles?
Yep.
Okay. So,
Total for the department then is $37,964.
okay,
That's an increase of $3,012, which is 11.2%.
okay. All right, and you're good with the Miles?
I'm good with it.
All right. So, financial administration, I didn't have any changes on that.
Jessica just pointed out that for the auditor's line, if it really is going up about $400 a year,
Mhm.
then, the auditor should go up another $13. Whether or not I picked a round number, but you never really
Mhm.
know exactly what it's gonna go up, but I leave that to you if you wanted to add a little bit more.
Which line?
Audit, under
46?
financial administration, 46.
So make it 15,400?
Yeah,
Which goes up another 100 then? I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay,
so that's 40,696.
yes, a change of $841 or
Okay.
2.1%.
2.1, okay. All right,
Good with that?
I'm good with that. Okay, reeval, I didn't have anything, I don't know very much about it, so I was going good with
So-
what it was.
I don't have a new contract from Avatar, so I would have you not finalize this section yet because I have $660 in there for appraisal,
Mhm.
which is going to come down because they have agreed that we can stay at 11 days rather than go to 12.
Okay, so we do have a contract, but we are challenging the additional day.
Yes.
Yeah, and so now they've agreed that we would go with that?
They've agreed, and I just
Okay.
don't have the new language for that, but I
Okay.
will plug it in when I do and I'll bring it to your attention.
And it would only go down, not up, so that's okay.
Well, so the appraisal will go down from the 6,600, but the mapping and information systems,
Yeah,
I've asked for new figures for those, I don't have new figures
okay,
yet.
okay, so we'll get
But they've
that.
been steady for the last few years, so,
Okay,
Oh.
all right, so at this point, we'll go ahead and go forward with it, but we'll know that we might have a
I will-
change in that.
Mhm.
Okay, very good. All right, personnel administration, health insurance. The
So
deduction was based on actuals, right?
this is the actual plans that people are actually on, budgeted at a 6% premium increase from
Okay.
current rates, which we don't know yet. It's probably gonna be another 2 or 3 weeks
Okay.
until we find out what that is.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So, I mean, we, the best we know is that we can go forward and then come back to it. Everything else looked okay for me, going down to dental.
So, yeah, dental, Caroline and I spoke, I stopped in on Friday. I didn't really know how it worked, that you need to get 75% of people to even sign up for it.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that either.
It's a law about any kind of health insurance, and dental insurance is part of that, that they want to spread the risk around, which means you don't want just the people who need the insurance,
Yeah.
you want everybody on it. So it's not just a health trust rule, but it's some bigger law that you need 75% of the eligible people
Okay.
to take it. So we have 8 full-time people,
Mhm.
you need at least 6 people to get on it. We have 5 people who would easily want to get on it,
Okay,
but you have 3 people who are on spousal plans.
okay,
In the past, the town has offered dental insurance at full employee cost,
Mhm.
and that has not been, that's more expensive than what those 3 employees currently get from their spouses.
Mhm.
So you're not gonna get those 3 people,
Mhm.
like, you just need one of them to come over,
Mhm.
and then those other 5 people can have the insurance.
Mhm.
So it doesn't mean, so the $5,071 that I've proposed
Mhm.
is from April through the end of the year. The full year cost is like $6,700, which I did write in my narrative, by the
mhm.
way.
Mhm.
And it's in the note there in the budget. So,
But you can't get it until you get approved for it, that's why you're going with April.
that's why I'm going with April,
Gotcha.
because there's no retroactive on that.
Gotcha.
So so that proposal is based on the pricing structure currently in place, which is that single plans are paid by the town, 2-person plans are 85% paid by the town, and family plans are 80% paid by the town. You can certainly come up with a different payment structure for it.
Mhm.
but we know that it's not going to bear fruit to have it completely employee paid. So you can think about that and come up and consider something else.
So what if we had like employees pay 25% of it? So, I don't know how to calculate the budget amount, modeling that, so I don't know who's single and who's, how many families.
Right. Well, 25, well, so, and it's also a different cost for family on dental versus single on dental,
Mhm.
so there's that.
But you could, if you wanted to, offer to employee only versus families, right? Or two-person,
You could,
I think you're likely not to get that.
you're probably not gonna get your people.
I don't know, I
Yeah.
mean, we've never asked that question, we've
Yeah.
only asked the employee paid question.
My thought was to offer it at 50/50 cost. You know, I don't think we can go 100% the first year, you know,
Yeah.
and
I think that's
But I-
the suggestion that I had as well. Whether people take it at 50/50,
it's just going to the dentist, it would pay for itself after the first visit probably, you know, as in, you know, for even just routine, care. So, but anybody with any kind of dental work that needs to be done, and, you know,
Right.
I think it would help, and it's a start, and, you know, and my intent would be to bring it down a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a new program, it's hard to sell a new program. But,
Right. Yep. No,
So, can I get back to you with a cost on that? Because I would have to calculate, I didn't bring I know what a single person is, the cost of a single person. I don't recall what a family
Or a two-person.
or a two-person, or whether
What
a
do they do?
two-person equals a family.
Equals
because
family and dental, sometimes it's different,
I
isn't
think
it?
two-person is family and
Yeah,
dental, so.
Okay,
yeah.
all right, yeah, you definitely could get it, but that was my feelings on
Yep.
that.
You definitely know there's savings there with that idea. Like clearly you're gonna save at least half of that with that idea.
Mm-hmm,
So I will, I will do the numbers on that, I will email you the numbers on that, and then if you like, I can send out a survey to those 8 people and see if there's interest, to
Yep.
see if that, and that way, because if there's no interest, then you can
we just
kill
take it out,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
okay. Oh, I wanna go back to town clerk, where is the cash register in her budget?
So I left that in, I didn't do that because I felt as, I didn't add it is what I mean, because I felt as though executive supplies could absorb it. It's
Oh,
only
okay.
about $140 or something, I thought it was fine.
Right, you said it
we
was
could
like
absorb
200 and something for the two of them.
Right.
One for the transfer station and one for here.
it. So I added it to the transfer station, but I didn't add it to executive.
Because we can.
'Cause I think we can
Okay,
do
very
it.
good. And just because we've been written up several times in our audit report that we should just do it.
Yep.
It's not that much money, so. All right, so everything else I was okay on, so, personnel, so what is,
So we'll,
personnel administration, does that have any different effect? Because we don't know yet, right?
We won't know until I get you a number on that.
Okay,
So I'll
all
send you an email in the morning with what the net effect of that is. And I
Okay.
think I can probably calculate the Avatar contract, what that will be. So
Okay,
I'll send you a revised sheet with all of tonight's decisions
perfect.
great,
tomorrow.
All right, planning and zoning, I was okay with everything on that.
I'm good with that.
So, government, buildings, the only thing that I see was, I was going back to 9,000 on the heat. I think because if we do the windows, that's gonna have a big
the same
impact on
thought.
it, yep,
Same
so
thought.
I would bring that back down to 9. And then the heat for the fire station, because of what their expenditures are for 19, I was gonna say bring it down by 500 on that one, because They still,
Yeah, they
they're only at
were.
46% and they still have 3 months, so.
Well, they still have 3 months, but, so their budget, so they spent about $6,000 in calendar year 17,
18.
no, 17.
So,
And then they
Oh.
spent $6,800
Okay.
in calendar year 18.
Yep, and right now, they're only up to 36.85.
Right, okay,
So
so
I'm thinking-
$7,400?
yeah.
Yeah, that's a.
I think they can do that,
I think so too.
okay.
And if he's gonna be doing the work that he's saying tonight on his doors and stuff, oh, just want to make a point of, I know I'm off task here, but he needs to announce that he works for the company and the painter. Do you know that?
Is that his company?
Well, it's not his company, it's the company he works for. I
Um,
believe it is, and he should be fully disclosure on that. I'm just saying,
I will make a note and see if that's the case.
find out if that's
Yeah.
where definitely who he works for, but he should disclose the fact that he works for them, he's not the owner.
Yeah,
But he's probably getting a better deal because he does work for them, but I just think that, full
Well,
disclosure,
I will talk to him about that.
okay, all right. I'm pretty certain that's.
Well,
the
I'll
company.
check with him and,
Okay,
but you're right, I think, yeah, okay,
all right.
yes.
All right, so other than that, I was okay with, I think we don't really know what's gonna happen with like, with electricity just because of the lights and stuff, so we'll probably keep it as is, especially if it's gonna take longer to get done than we know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, if it's gonna, at this rate that it takes, 2 or 3 months to sign a contract and have it turn into any results, you know that you're not gonna have, even if you sign the contract tonight for it, you're not gonna get a full year's worth of benefit in
Mhm.
2020
Right.
necessarily.
Mhm.
But still, it's something to think about if you're, for this year's budget, that you can still use this year's budget dollars to offset next year's cost.
Mhm.
So it's still worth thinking about. You can,
So the note here says if we convert it to LED, it would be 8,100?
yes, that is the Eversource projected cost.
I would have thought that it would go down even more than that, but, oh, I guess that's just the lights, it's not
It's
It's
not the
just the
HVAC
lights.
system
Yeah.
and,
conditioning.
yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I was good with the rest of the, government buildings.
Yep,
You were,
as was
okay.
I.
Cemetery, I'm good with that.
So do we have a new total for the?
94,558, which is down $5,320.
In the percent,
It's down 5.3%.
okay.
Nice.
All right, and, insurances, I'm okay, regional associations, I'm okay. Police department, I'm looking at a 2% across the board
Okay.
for
yeah.
for them. I do believe that we need to do something for the position, not necessary for the chief currently, but I think I'm in support of the 5,000
Okay,
as a, market adjustment, because he hasn't gotten it like all the others, but I'm welcome to hear your concerns and comments.
no, so when I was going through my exercise, I just picked a percent,
Mhm,
and I applied it to everyone getting an adjustment.
mhm,
It was arbitrary,
mhm,
so
mhm.
I'm fine with 5,000.
Okay,
versus-
all right, because he was asking for 8, which
Yeah,
we didn't give him the social security reimbursement, so, I felt like we did take something away. And, okay, so
well,
we're
we
good.
found other savings,
Mm-hmm,
so, yeah,
okay.
I'm good.
Contracted services, I put to take 5,000 out of the 40, only because I'm concerned that we're not doing as much, and I don't wanna have the revenue show if we're not gonna bring in the revenue. What is
Okay.
your thought?
So, there's no right or wrong answer to this,
Mm-hmm,
because on the one hand, you're keeping it level, so
Mhm.
it's consistent on the tax rate. If you aren't bringing in the revenue, you're also not, you're not spending it, you're not bringing in the revenue, but you are raising it by taxes.
yeah,
So there's a lag, you raise it by taxes, and then you report no revenue, and then it's adjusted out by when the financials actually come in.
mhm.
The benefit to keeping it there is that,
We
If
got
it
the
ever
money
goes
raised
back
by
up.
taxes if something else went up. that we
Well, so there's that, I mean, it gives you flexibility in the budget if you need it, you
Yeah.
really shouldn't wanna use it that way because
Right.
if there's no offsetting revenue. But, if there's a catastrophe, it helps, but really, it also, it helps the general fund, which is on the low range
Okay.
of healthy.
Okay.
So, that being said, there's no right or wrong answer about it.
Cause we haven't, well, I mean, 2 years ago, we did come close to 40,000.
Mhm.
We're nowhere near that anymore, but,
At 18 it was.
but you're right, so if we reduce it and then next year have to increase it,
Mm-hmm,
then it is gonna,
it's gonna be
Well,
a year lag.
And
Yeah.
also, if they do get a contract and there's
yeah.
work to do, then they have to find money out of their
Okay,
other parts of the budget.
no, all right, I'm okay. I just wanted to,
I mean, you
Put
can
it
help
out
bring
there.
it down, but it's kind of like, any other revenue neutral.
Mhm.
Even though it's not exactly a wash, you bring in
Mhm.
more revenue than you, theoretically, you bring in more revenue than you spend,
mhm,
assuming you spend it fully. But like anything like that, it's a wash. So if you're not bringing, if you're, the revenue and expense are there together. You either have them or you don't, so.
okay, that's fine. Also on line 128, replace cruiser video recording system. Didn't we already do that this year?
One of them.
From
He
one
said he
of them,
needed-
is this another one?
I think he said he needed 2.
Okay.
Cause
He
we did just, I just signed a check
Yes,
Yeah.
for it.
there is one.
Or is this for the new cruiser? No?
Well, it says
It's-
replace cruiser video.
It's not for the new cruiser, and I'm not sure that it's just one vehicle, it might be more than one vehicle, I think he wants to replace them in, like, one actually died, but
One
the
actually
others
did.
Well, they're
need
aging.
replacing,
They're
because they're
aging,
really
yeah.
old.
Okay, I just wanted to verify, because I know that we did vote to do it, because it actually died.
Yes,
So
and
I
that's
wanted to
why,
make
like, they had
sure this
something they
wasn't an
needed to
old note.
retrieve from it, and they
Okay.
couldn't retrieve it. 'cause,
Okay, so I'm okay with leaving it then.
Yep.
So what's the bottom line on the police?
$574,799,
Okay,
up $17,409,
okay,
which is 3.1%.
okay. All right, fire department. I had put that we probably should bring it to the 5,000, for the salaries.
To 56,000?
No, that's the 10, isn't it?
To the 51, so,
Okay, 5,000 from.
From the 56. to
that they didn't get this year, that the
They didn't
select
get
board
this
gave them anyway.
Right, so
So to 51.
if, yes, because he's asking for 10.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, right.
Well,
I
he's
was,
asking for 5 more
He's
than he
asking
got
for
this year, it's
5.
just 10 more than he was actually authorized through the budget committee this year.
Because we found 5,000.
Right,
say that again?
he's asking for 5,000 more than you gave him this year. So he asked for 5,000 for this year, and that was taken away by the budget committee authorized by the voters. So then the select board reallocated to him the $5,000 that the select board initially supported, that the budget committee didn't give him. So in other
Last year
words,
he asked for 10, budget committee cut that in half,
And gave
to
him 5.
and we
We gave
restored
him
it.
the other 5.
to
So now he's
51.
asking for 10 again.
Well, it's
So-
only because it wasn't in last year's budget.
so if you bring it down to 5,100, you're level funding it from what they're experiencing this year.
Oh, that's not my intent.
So the $10,000.
Oh, you're saying we have to add it in there because it
They
was
didn't have
taken
it this
out
year.
and never came back in, so he's
Yes.
only getting 5,000
5.
additional monies for salaries
Yes.
for 2020.
So the other 5 is rectifying, you're
The
solidifying.
era, not the era, but the reduction that we gave him anyway.
Yes,
Okay, then I'm okay.
So what number are you okay with?
Well, we have to leave the 10 in there because that's the difference because we gave it to them. But out of that, he's only getting 5, right?
yes, it's a
It's a
$5,000.
$5,000 increase.
Then I'm in favor of that, not 10.
So I wasn't I wasn't in favor of a $5,000 increase, only because we gave them a big increase last year.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they're underpaid. And do we have information on if they're getting, I know it's hard to calculate their hourly rate.
They have not submitted their third quarter payroll yet. Their second quarter payroll was right around, I think, $8 an hour. It was between $7.50 and $8. It was right in that range.
And
The
what is
first-
what is the,
That's the point value, is
The minimum
no, I
wage.
know, what is minimum wage?
Seven
That's what they're aiming for.
$7.25.
Oh, I thought it was $7.75, but it's
Oh,
in
okay,
the
but
sevens.
they're in the ballpark then.
Yeah,
They're in the ballpark, but that's the only quarter that we have data for, because the first quarter, I don't think they had their software program working properly for, and then they haven't submitted Q3 yet. So they should submit Q3 in a week or two, and then you'll have 2 quarters worth of data. So, because it changes every quarter, I'm not sure we really know. You know,
well, and
It's like the- yeah.
so if you have 100 calls in a quarter, one quarter, and 50 calls in another, the hourly rate's gonna change.
Change, that's exactly right.
So it's hard to pin your,
donkey.
I'm okay with an increase, so long as we can, in the end,
Get to where we want to get.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna change something, I'm not gonna vote on that line because I have a conflict with my sunset.
okay.
So you and Jess will have to both be there
Okay.
if there's gonna be a reduction or addition to that. I just wanted to give you my opinion on
Yeah.
it. Cause what I wrote was, if it was 5,000, it's I'm writing crap. Never mind, cause I can't read it.
Oh.
I don't know what so 25 employees, 10,000 is $400 a person technically a year additional. 5,000 would give them $200 technically. Have to remember though, and I still don't agree with their payroll system. I don't know, it's top heavy. Let's be honest, it's top heavy. The people that are in, and in some instances it should be, because they're the ones that are taking all the heat,
Right,
so to
they've got more
say,
experience.
and they're the most experienced, and then leaders of the pack, and I get that. But, it's,
I don't
It's-
disagree.
I think and you might wanna put a little bug into Mark Zier when he meets with the budget committee, cause they're going to be asking him
'Cause they
to
asked for it
see
last year.
his formula and to defend his formula, because I was already told that they're gonna be looking for that. So, if he can get their approval, then go at it. I mean, I don't know, I don't have an answer on what the right formula is. But, the more bugles you wear, you're right up there with the higher salary, so it's not helping the little guy that's coming in and doing all the training and putting a lot of time in, but he's getting educated on the town's dollar, so that's a benefit in itself,
that is, they get something out of it.
Mhm,
They're definitely not doing it for the money.
No, they're not. They would do it, yeah. If you're a fireman, you do it because you love it.
Right.
Not because you are making tons of money.
Okay, so we'll wait for Jess to,
Yeah, let's, you guys can,
or Jessica, I don't know if she goes by Jess.
I don't know if she does either, I can keep on calling her that too. So everything else on the fire department I was okay with.
Yep, me too.
All right. Did he put, I know he was looking for a computer, right?
He added that to, he has it in 151, line 151.
Oh, there it is. Yep, okay. All right, so, and does he go through Tom?
He hasn't been, because they have someone on staff there
Oh,
that
Sean.
is hooked up
He's-
to
yeah,
other
he's-
things,
Yeah,
so.
okay. So they're probably getting the best buy.
Well,
Or-
nonetheless, I've encouraged Mark to sort of stay in the loop here because
Yeah,
there's something to be said about everybody being on the same page with the same technology
Yep.
and group discounts, the
Yep.
same platforms, the same software, you know, some things like that. And, you know,
maybe Sean should just touch base with Tom once he determines what he feels that they need and see what they can come
well,
up
and I
with.
said that too because, you know, I'm not sure who could find us something cheaper,
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
right thing at the
Yeah.
least amount of money. I'm
So I
not
would
sure,
encourage them definitely to, either Sean or Mark,
Yes.
so, okay. Okay, so we're good on fire department, so nothing came out, right? So that's the same,
Yeah, I don't think you
Okay.
revised anything.
all right, building inspector, I'm okay with that, okay. Highway and streets, I am on a, no on a permanent part-time employee,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't feel like we can absorb that this year.
Yeah, I agree. I know that they were looking for additional funds for one employee in the transfer station. I don't know what your feelings are on that.
So, I didn't have all of his notes, so he said to increase to 1435, I think that's too much of a jump.
Can we back up before I lose the
I'm sorry.
thought, please? I'm sorry. So
Yeah.
highway part-time staff, so instead of that number, do you want to go with last year's number? Or do you want last year's number plus 2%? Or how do you, what would you
Well, I have
propose?
2% no on the additional
Okay, so-
part-time. I put 2%, because we're doing
Okay.
across the board, is what I thought. So
Okay.
I'm doing 2% and no on the, whatever that dollar amount is he has for the permanent part-time
Okay.
employee.
Thank you.
Yep. I'm gonna question the taxes and I have less on that. I think how I understood, George and Ed when they were talking, this person that they want to give additional money to is because he's a senior person.
Yep.
And he does other things at the transfer station, like working part-time for the highway department, or he does additional work. But when he does, or snow plowing or whatever, but when he does those jobs, he gets paid for the salary in that position.
Yep.
So I don't think he is,
I think he should get paid more than, because he was like really close to someone they like newly hired, right?
well, they're pretty much all, he's the highest, but they're really close.
It's like $1 or something. The new hiring wage is $11. I think he's between 11 and 12.
Yeah, so
It's
it's.
not more than 12.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm willing to go a little bit, but I think what they were asking for was way too much.
Agreed,
So,
agreed.
um,
Yeah, I didn't have the detail, when I went through and looked, but I said 2% plus a little more for that particular one.
okay, I could support that.
Like 5% maybe or something. I know that might be hard to.
If you could give me an hourly wage for that one, or like,
Well, do we know what he makes?
I could very easily.
Okay, so, I mean, I just think it was way too much.
It is way too much.
I think that, cause he gets the different salaries for the other jobs that he does
Yeah,
differently.
when he plows,
Or when he works as a part-time help, if they need an additional help person. He does use the, he does do all of the crushing and stuff, right, or chipping, or whatever the products. So that's an addition to when he does drive the forklift or whatever it is that he does.
$11.22 an hour.
That's what he's making?
Yes.
Oh, and the other one's, so he's only,
So he got
22
one
cents.
2%, he got one, so everybody got a market increase up to 11.
yeah?
And then he got one 2% increase after
Ah.
that.
Okay, so we did a market increase for all of them?
They went from 10.50 to 11.
Okay, but then he only got a 2% from
And
what
then-
he was making.
Right.
So, so they're making 11 now, plus getting the 2%. Is what we're gonna get the others.
I didn't look at the others, what they're,
But what you said last year, they got bounced up to 11. So.
Let me make sure I
Sorry.
do, no, no, it's
Sorry.
okay,
Yeah.
let's get it right.
So if they're 11 and he's 11:22, so if they both, 11:50,
Well, what would 2% give him? That's 1144.
is it 2% is?
Yeah. it's
Okay.
like 12.
The other two are at 11 even.
Okay,
And how many hours does he work?
The transfer station is open for 16 hours a week. They use him for another, sometimes 4 hours every other week or something like that for baling or burning or something like, you know,
at his current transfer station?
at the transfer station rate.
Right, okay.
So, yeah,
So if you wanna tell me what you'd like to do, I can calculate for you.
so if you put him at like 12, just for, and everyone else at 2%. We're getting complicated.
So there would be 11:22, and then he would be 12.
Yep.
So, I'm budgeting, right now we have someone who just works Saturdays. I'm adding, like, I'm making him a whole person and not just a 1/3 person.
Right, okay.
Which you can negate that if you wanna negate that, I'm just telling you what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And that doesn't make sense. Not sure, so I'm over budgeting. Alright, let's try that again. So. Did you say 12? Is that what you said?
Mhm.
Okay.
And they were looking for 3, but we're looking for 2, so that needs to change.
I don't know why I'm coming up with a much bigger number. Like maybe it wasn't budgeted appropriately to begin with.
Mm. So,
But I don't.
dude,
Oh,
You're missing one
I'm
person.
dividing that in half. I'm sorry. I know what I did. I know what I did.
But they're also down a person, right?
I know what I did. Hold
Hmm.
on. I know what I did.
But he's trying to hide.
Right, but we have to budget it for it.
yeah.
Okay,
Missing
I got
person,
it.
so
I
to
got
say,
it.
yeah.
Alright, so, sorry that took me so long. Okay, 28,654. Which is, so that is
Oh.
absolutely,
28,000 what?
No.
alright, so 28,654 is those exact rates for the exact number of hours. There's no extra time in there for burning or baling, so we have to build that in. But that is for three days a week. 3 people, 3 days a week, one at 12, the other at 11:22.
Don't you have to do 4, because they have an outstanding person that they're ready to hire,
Alright,
right?
okay, well, ready to add, I got it right here. Okay, and that brings that to 38,638.
That's better.
But
Well,
that's
that's-
more than,
But
I
that's more than
what
they're
they
even
had.
asking for, so
think it wasn't budgeted appropriately.
Correct.
I don't think that was budgeted appropriately.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Which means you don't really have a 4th person in there.
Right
Well,
now, yeah.
actually, I think they believe, I don't think they believe they have a 4th person in there. I believe they have a third person in there, and right now,
For the other 2 days?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then they're gonna be over by 1 day a week with that one person.
So that one person is just 1 day a week.
I
Right.
don't think, I'm not sure what they understand, but I
Alright.
think that's what this budget probably reflects.
Let's kind of get that cleared up
Let's,
from
I
them.
will
Okay.
ask Ed
All
what
right.
that is supposed to represent.
Okay, all right. So, all right. So what, road surfacing,
Yeah,
you were looking for a reduction, of
20.
20,000,
So,
and I was okay with that.
oh, okay, good.
Well, I also have some,
Unless she knows something I don't know.
well, I talked to George about this today, because I wanted to make sure that if you're gonna, we don't wanna do 3/4 of a road. It doesn't make sense to have money in there to do 3/4 of a road, so what would be the effect of a cut on this line?
Yep.
Since you asked about the culvert on Locust, there's a collapsed culvert behind American Legion that's likely to be a problem again this winter, so they're getting ready to replace that, they're gonna do that
Okay.
this year.
Okay.
So, they did not overlay the woodlands this
I
year.
didn't think they did.
Yeah.
They did Heritage in that first half of Sligo.
Mhm.
So his thought for next year was to finish the rest of Sligo and do the overlay at the woodlands, which
Mhm.
would end up being the same price as what you all did this year,
Mhm.
which left extra money in that line. Next year, he would like to use that extra money for sidewalks. So he really wants to work on sidewalks, and that was his thought. So if you cut that by 20,
Mhm.
it looks like you would have enough money to accomplish the road goal, but not the sidewalk. The sidewalks is something that they can do themselves, it's just the cost of hot tub and having time,
Mhm.
and they're running out of time
And
this
you're
year.
talking on, what roads are you talking? Like, it's not Main
Locust.
Street, right?
He mentioned there's, a problem on Locust Street with a tree growing out of the, so I don't know how they would rectify that, but, I'm sure Main Street, at least,
It's a state road though.
sidewalks are always ours, no matter where they are.
Okay, okay.
So I don't know where he would prioritize that. For sure, on Main Street between Locust and Foundry is really low and collects water and should be, like, that's probably the worst of the sidewalks, but, I don't know how much he can accomplish with
So would you be opposed
that.
to level funding it?
Well, I just don't see how we're gonna get to our goal if we, we can leave it level and see where that leaves
Will we
it.
get? Yeah,
That was the only workplace I saw where we could take a chunk
a
of money.
big chunk, yeah.
But his math doesn't exactly make sense to me unless some of those projects aren't in the 307. So you did the fire station for like 15.
Mhm.
So expenditures through the third quarter is 322,000 essentially. It's 321,918.
Yep, that's what's there.
Oh, I guess I don't have the most recent.
Oh,
Are you looking at
That's
2018? Are you looking at 20?
Year to date 2019.
Oh, okay, so,
yeah,
It's very close to 2018.
okay.
It just must not be.
I think I printed the most recent one,
so
that she had sent out for the third quarter review.
I did send you third quarter figures, but tomorrow I'll send you this sheet and you'll have
Okay.
third quarter figures.
Okay.
But-
So still to come out of that line is gravel. They were gonna do gravel with the new truck, since they don't have the new truck, they can't. So it's gonna be slower and harder, but they still haven't done gravel for Sligo and along Heritage, so gravel's gonna come out of that too. So it's not fully expended though, like for the year, but it's close.
Okay, well, we can leave it for now.
We can leave it for now and come back to it once we have the whole picture. Okay, all right.
Yep.
All right, so then I had nothing else, I don't,
Yep, I didn't either.
no,
Have
I
any
did
other-
not have anything else on there. And so then, getting down to sanitation total, do we know what a new one is?
Well, I need
Not
to,
until we get that.
Yeah, I need to talk to Ed about what's gonna go on with his attendance.
Okay, all right, so we'll get back to that then.
But do you have any other comments on any other part of that
Mm-mm.
budget?
No.
As long as they're comfortable with what they're doing with all of these disposal rates, that's the only thing that I was concerned about, because, you know, I mean,
We
but
reviewed them, but it's a bit of a
Yeah.
crapshoot.
it's a guessing game, for sure.
It is a guessing game and it's
Yeah.
gonna take compliance,
Yeah,
which means the ordinance.
yep. All right, well, let's just go forward for now and then wait for him to get back to us on.
I will, I'm just gonna ask him a paper, I just wanna make a note about the paper, because the paper doesn't look right to me. But
Oh, the
I-
recycling, mixed
Yeah,
recycling,
I'll
okay.
talk to
All
him
right.
about that.
Okay, so then, emergency management, I'm all set with.
Yep.
We haven't heard from ambulance, or did we get confirmation
So-
it's not going up?
Confirmation that we're 1 year into a 2-year contract,
Oh,
so
that's
it's not
right.
time to
Right.
evaluate it yet,
Second
so.
year.
I don't know why, I apologize, I don't know why that struck me, but there was a conversation that just.
Can
let
you
me
put in the
know.
notes section, the second year of a 2-year contract?
Yeah, that's
Thank
a,
you.
yeah.
So I'm good on those. Animal control, this line is used for police, just the variable name, and one make sure this is regular. What? This line uses the police ATP, what is that?
Across the board
Across the-
increase.
Okay,
Just change the variable name if
you
you
wanna
wanna use the regular
across the.
across the board. So never, I'm deleting that comment because, you know,
Yeah.
he overrided the number anyway, he provided his own number, so that's not a relevant comment, I deleted it.
So we're just doing a 2% across the board, right?
Well, so it's at 2.1% right now because he proposed that number.
But it's also $66.
It's also $66, right.
Go for it.
Yep.
All right, so I'm good with that, and so I'm all set with the rest of that on there.
Yep.
General assistance,
I wouldn't propose a change,
on general assistance,
no.
yeah, I'm fine with it,
Okay.
as proposed.
Good.
All right,
Rec is a conversation.
and we're gonna wait for that, yeah. Library, did library get a 2% increase, or what did they say they were coming in as?
2%.
That's what I
But
thought.
they'll do whatever the town does, they just don't ever know what you're going to
Well,
do,
that's
so
what
this year
we're
they're
doing,
proposing 2%.
so we're good, we're
Right.
okay.
Yes.
So I'm okay with the library.
Yep.
Other, I'm okay with all of those, and
Okay.
here we are.
Debt service.
Okay, so while it doesn't have to be tonight, we
Mhm.
also need to talk about budget for revenue
Mhm.
and things for CIP.
Capital improvement too.
Yep.
So projected was the articulator,
By the way, you got the budget down to 3.1%
Okay.
with tonight's.
well,
changes.
keeping roads, so that's why you got it down to 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so
Um,
that's not bad.
better.
3.1%,
3.1% is 74,700.
74,700. Cool, all right. We could massage it a little more if we wanted to get it down to 2.
I just feel like the budget committee, and you probably know better than I do, that they're gonna balk at a big increase. Um,
Yep. Of course, if you take out rec, that's gonna get you definitely
Oh,
where your
yeah.
goal is.
Yeah,
If you put on the record, I'm definitely 14 going, for sure. So that's 13,000 right there.
Which
So-
you could potentially put into a director or, as she wanted to do. So if you got rid of both, it brings you down to a 0.5% increase. If you got rid of,
get rid of all of.
if you got rid of all of rec, it's a 0.5 increase on the budget. If you got rid of, just teen camp and you didn't otherwise spend that money, you're at a 2.6% increase on the budget,
And not touching roads, yeah, so that we could get down to where we,
just for,
yeah. But, I mean, I understand what they were saying about taking the key and taking that money and getting a rec director, but there's rec director money in the rec budget.
Yeah,
So, I don't think you need to use Keen, you just need to get rid of it and use whatever is in the rec department, if that's what your intention is to have a rec director.
I don't disagree, but I'm not sure that that's enough money. There's still the question about, you know, how much time, like the rec director, they only budgeted to have for the summer. You need,
Oh, I know. Oh, you're saying to take it,
you need help now, you need,
but if the program's gonna get deferred for a year,
well, then it
then
doesn't matter.
then it doesn't matter. So, I mean, T needs to go because it doesn't have the children in it and it's costly. So that needs to go. But if you wanna save some part of rec, it's gonna be much less than what it is and you would have room in there to put
Oh,
rec
because you're
director.
not doing field trips that
Well,
cost
I'm just
money and
saying,
things like that.
I'm proposing
There's money.
basics, you know? And so you potentially could have the money for a year-round, so many hours a month, a rec director, with what would be left in the rec department. If that's the
Yeah.
route we wanna go. I think we're gonna get some feedback, to be honest, if it goes away. This has been a program that's been in there for 40 years
Oh,
plus, you know? I just think that, I don't know, I hate to see it go completely. But I'm not gonna be sold because it's being daycare for somebody. I want it to be adventure, to get kids out, getting kids active. You know, like what Kelly was saying, Celia was more about, you know, people are gonna be angry because
right, if this is.
their daycare situation has gone by, you know? It's more about getting kids healthier and active and out of trouble. You know?
That is something to consider.
You know, so,
Yeah.
but, I don't know. I think the three of us have to be here to have that conversation.
Yep.
So,
No, I agree.
okay, so we did pretty good.
Yeah, that is awesome.
So, the next
This is
step
awesome.
is,
I am going to send this out tomorrow as soon as I'm gonna try to get some answers first about, the assessing contract
Okay.
and recalculating dental. And hopefully I'll even talk to Ed about his transfer station attendance line.
okay,
But I'll send this out to you again tomorrow, so you'll have it up to date with third quarter figures.
okay,
And then on the 17th, we'll meet without Salme because she's not here. So
okay.
we have Brianna
Oh.
joining us. And we
What's
need
that,
to
Thursday?
do CIP revenue and finalize fire assessing and personnel administration
Okay,
and rec.
okay.
Okay,
Yeah, so,
that's-
I mean, that's pretty good.
That's really,
Yeah,
that's really good.
yeah, so I think we can get that done the next meeting, for sure.
Revenue should be pretty straightforward.
Yep, okay,
Okay.
thanks for all the work, Mike, too.
Work.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this
You
is,
did it. I think that was really good.
Thank you.
yeah,
Mm.
it's really good pizza, I have to say.
It was, where did it come from?
I didn't
Was it
notice that
South
box
Berwick?
before, I have no
They-
idea what that was.
I
I
don't
think it
know.
might have been South Berwick.
We never order from there.
South Berwick House, I like South Berwick House.
We always go to Kemble Pond.
Me too, that's my favorite. But anyway, that was very nice of them to do that, and I think it was a good meeting. So-
It was fabulous, it was good to see, you
Yeah.
know, contract drivers, you know, you never see them ever because they're, you know, you only, you know, it snows and they're out on the road and then they're gone and
Yeah, yeah.
they don't even come in,
Yep, exactly.
so that was good.
This was nice.
All right.
Yeah, they have a good, really good working relationship.
They all do, they're plow
Like
truck
we said.
drivers, the transfer station people, like all of them.
Well, like they said, we like each other, so
Yeah.
it's easy, you know, and that's good to hear, you know?
It's-
And I think that
it's-
the,
Well, I think they
the,
like each other